to change a serpentine belt tensioner for an Audi A3 8P. This is pretty much everything that you'll need to be changing out your tensioner. You're gonna have something to take off the bolts, 17mm socket wrench. You have your T25 to get rid of the screws for the underbody panels, 13mm socket wrench, or you can just use a regular wrench to get things off, 16mm so that you can untension the tensioner, something to lock the locking pin. You can use like Allen keys or anything like that. Then you're gonna need a ratcheting wrench if you're gonna be going the other way. Otherwise, you can use a socket ratcheting wrench to be doing everything. Magnetic tree would be good, and then you have a jack stand to be lifting up the car. You want to lift the car up, that way you can access the wheel well. Start with opening up the hood, and then tensioner is going to be right at this left center. From here, you're going to see that you have two of these bolts. These are 13mm, and your tensioner is going to be right here. To get into position where you want to adjust the tension, simply pull this back and put a locking pin right in between. You can see that it'll end up over here on this side, and that'll hold it in place. Now you can remove your tension belt, which is now loose. Start from the alternator side and work your way out. From the bottom, you can see the last 13mm is going to be right over here. Right underneath, you can see that the 13mm is going to be here. Easiest way that I found was using a long 13mm ratcheting wrench, but if you have just a socket wrench, try not to mistake it for this other 13mm. This is going to be right next to the alternator. You can see it right on the alternator body. This one is directly connected to the tensioner, and I can show you that on the tensioner part as well. With the tensioner out, we see the two bolt holes that goes on the top side as well as the one on the bottom. From the orientation that we're looking at from the wheel, it's going to be going from this side angled, and you're going to be looking for that connection going towards this tensioner. As far as diagnosing if you have a bad tensioner, what you can do is look at the tensioner. You don't even have to remove it, just remove the belt. And then on that pulley, check to see if it keeps spinning. If there's no tension being held, it should stop spinning shortly after being rotated. If it is, then it's not holding enough tension that's causing your belt to be squeaky or loose. Once you've inspected your belt, seeing that there's no cracks or anything, cordage is okay, you just want to drop it in from this side right here. Oops. Push it down, and then go to the underside to line it up towards the AC compressor and power steering, I think. I'm not really sure, honestly. Anyways, you have this, and then it's running up into the pulley, which is going to be right here. You can see it kind of wiggly. And then up to the alternator. With everything lined back up, use the 16mm wrench again. And I'm going to push down and then relieve the tension by removing that pin. If you're going to be using an Allen wrench and you need to get whatever locking instrument that you used, put it in a vise and go ahead, do it that way. I can't do it with one hand, so imagine I did it. That should be everything that you need to know to change your Audi A3 8P tensioner. It's not too bad of a job. It should take you about 30 minutes to an hour, depending on if you've ever done this before or your comfortability with wrenching. It's not too bad of a job. I would say the only thing you have to keep in mind is which bolts you're going to be taking out and making sure that you do things in kind of in order. That way you're not trying to tension this or take the tension off when your bolts are already kind of loose. Take the tension off first, pull this back, tension this, and set it with the locking pin. Then go ahead and remove 1, 2, and then that third one at the bottom. Remove the belt, change the tensioner, and reverse everything to install.